Now you can see as we look at pinpoint Doppler that we are actually looking at a clean sweep, but zooming out just a little bit, there are those showers and storms, or the line of showers and storms starting to move into parts of Kentucky, over into western Kentucky, a little bit on the border there. You can see 2 rounds, and that's really going to be the issue as we head into those overnight hours. This is multiple rounds of showers and storms. There's a look at that flash flood watch. That's until 11 a.m. on your Saturday, only including a few of our counties, but really all of us need to be aware of that flash flooding threat just because we've been so wet this past week. Here's that severe threat as well. Slight risk for really that same area that is under that flash flood watch. You'll notice a marginal risk for really almost all of our area. You'll notice an enhanced risk out west into parts of western Kentucky where they're going to see the greater severe threat this evening. So for us, heavy rain's really going to be our main threat tonight and into your Saturday. Damaging winds, can't rule that out as well. We'll talk about just the stormy weekend coming up in just a few short minutes.
All right, Paige, thank you. A woman is dead, and police in southern Kentucky say her adult nephew is to blame. We've learned the two were fighting at her home on Betty West Road, west of Williamsburg, early this morning when that fight turned deadly. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what the nephew is accused of doing.
A lot of questions to be answered, but there was a very violent scene witnessed by a number of people outside a home in Whitley County. All of that resulted in the arrest of 40-year-old Michael Lee Worley, who is now being held here in the Whitley County Jail, facing a charge of murder. 2 911 calls were made of a fight at Wanda Richardson's home just before 8 o'clock Friday morning. Police arrived to find the 58-year-old Richardson dead near the front of her home, and they say her nephew was running away.
In speaking with some family members, we've learned that it's not unusual for him to visit her, so it was not unusual for him to be there.
But something snapped Friday because police say Richardson died of what appears to be a beating.
I mean, I can say that drugs is possibly on the suspect's part. He's a known drug offender, and he did appear to be I won't say intoxicated, but he did appear to be under the influence of a substance.
Relatives near the home told us they did not want to talk to us about the violence. Worley also declined to tell us his side of the story from jail. Police say there will have to be an autopsy done to determine the exact cause of death, but police say that the victim was badly beaten. In Whitley County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Police say whether any weapons were used to cause Richardson's death remains under investigation. Meanwhile, police still need your help finding this man. His name is Nicholas Rucker. 1 month ago, state troopers say he killed his girlfriend, Vicki Connor, in the Woodbine community. Connor's family is offering a reward for any information leading to Rucker's arrest. The reward is $10,000. One man is behind bars this evening in connection with a Perry County stabbing. This is video from last night's scene. Investigators say 39-year-old Donald Sizemore stabbed another man. They have not told us the victim's name. Sizemore faces first-degree assault and tampering with evidence charges. He's now in the Kentucky River Regional Jail. A grand jury indicted a man for a January deadly crash. Wilbur Neese faces murder, first-degree assault, and DUI charges. On the 4th day of the year, investigators say he drove under the influence and crashed into a car driven by Eugene Turner. Turner's wife, Wanda, died in the crash. Breathitt County Sheriff's deputies arrested Neese this morning. A trial date is set for a former Eastern Kentucky girls basketball coach. John Walker coached the girls team at South Laurel High School until last fall. A grand jury indicted him on first-degree sexual abuse. Prosecutors say he had sexual contact with a 16-year-old on or around November 2nd while in a position of authority or special trust. His trial is set for October 7th. A well-known Pike County property owner pleaded guilty to 5 counts of sex trafficking today. Ernest Ray was indicted in February. From the plea agreement, he admitted to recruiting girls under the age of 18 for sex acts and paid them with alcohol, money, and drugs between 2010 and 2016. Each charge carries a recommended sentence of not less than 10 years in prison. Sentencing is scheduled for October 11th. People from across the state are gathering today at the old Wayland High School gym to remember an Eastern Kentucky legend. King Kelly Coleman died earlier this week. He was the first Mr. Basketball in Kentucky, and many records he set way back then still stand. WYMT's Macy Marie talked to people who came to the little mountain town to honor their friend.
paying their respects to a Kentucky legend.
You know, got to hear some stories more than once, but they were always good to hear.
Where he practiced on the side of a hill and the ball rolled away every time he missed the goal.
Julian Tackett says he knew Kelly Coleman for several years, but knew about him long before they actually met.
Just a legend, literally. And then, of course, his play in our state tournament he still holds records.
Coleman led the Wayland Wasps to a Sweet 16 appearance back in 1956 and was named Mr. Basketball that same year.
He worked his tail off.
His work ethic inspiring those who came after him, like Russell County native Ralph Richardson.
He was a respected, outstanding basketball player.
But friends say in some ways his skills on the court overshadowed Coleman's other traits.
He did not want to be viewed as just a basketball player. He was a very successful man.
Saying Coleman was also a businessman and a leader in the community.
I mean, these people wouldn't miss this.
Saying the king was not just respected, but also loved. In Floyd County, Macy Marie, WYMT Mountain News.
Coleman's visitation continues until 8 o'clock tonight and picks back up tomorrow morning at 10 before his funeral at noon. The Pike County Jail spent much of the morning on lockdown. Jail staff says a white powdery substance fell out of an inmate's mail. The person opening the mail later started feeling sick. They were taken to the hospital. A hazmat crew was called to the scene. Right now it's unclear what the powder was. Today, a Laurel County grand jury indicted a man on sex-related charges. Nearly 2 years ago, investigators say Christopher Southard sexually abused a teenager. The alleged crime happened in August of 2017. The grand jury indicted Southard on rape, sodomy, and sexual abuse charges. On Wednesday, President Trump's administration finalized its Affordable Clean Energy Plan. The Environmental Protection Agency Director Andrew Wheeler says the biggest differences between the new plan and the past one under the Obama administration is more cooperation between the EPA and states. He says that will help with the restriction of CO2 emissions. Wheeler also talked about whether natural gas may affect the future of coal plants.
You know, I think at this point it might slow down the number of coal plant closures, but I think more importantly, it levels the playing field so that if somebody wants to invest in a new coal-fired power plant, they'll be able to. It's not the job of the EPA to pick winners and losers between different fuel sources. We're supposed to have regulations that apply evenly across the board, and that's what this does.
The Trump administration also is proposing to roll back an Obama-era mileage rule requiring tougher mileage standards for cars and light trucks. Now, we wanted to talk to a coal operator about their thoughts on what's happened this week. WYMT's Justin Case is in Harlan County with that part of the story. Justin.
Steve, this coal mine here in Harlan County, you might be able to see it right over this shoulder back there. They've been in operation for about 2 years now, and actually this week they just hit a major milestone, a total of 2 million tons of coal produced since beginning their operation. Now, while the general manager here of the mine says he's hesitant to say that the rollbacks will bring coal back to what it once used to be, he feels confident fewer restrictions could mean growth not only in production but in the number of people hired by the company. And he says paychecks ultimately find their way back into the local economy.
Everything in this town revolves around coal. Without coal, we've got 300 plus families here that wouldn't have work. And a lot of these people were able to come home when we came in. There's a lot of people that are having to leave for the week that are able to come home and stay with their families through the week and get their paycheck right here in the community they live in.
Steve, this coal company provides coal for Kentucky, South Carolina, and Florida. And actually, they're opening up a new mine in just a little bit more than a month from now. But more than anything, the general manager here says that the rollbacks provide more stability as the company continues growing in a positive direction. We'll dive deeper into the local impact coming up tonight at 11. Steve?
All right, Justin, thank you. An aide to Lieutenant Governor Jenean Hampton is fighting to get her job back. Adrian Southworth served as Hampton's deputy chief of staff and was recently fired by Governor Bevin's chief of staff. Southworth is appealing to be reinstated and receive back pay and benefits. The governor's chief of staff says he authorized her firing, saying she repeatedly demonstrated poor judgment. Today, loved ones gathered at a ceremony to honor fallen officers. The annual event is held to recognize Kentucky State Police troopers and officers who have died in the line of duty. Matthew Rand was at today's emotional ceremony.
The state police, they honor our fallen troopers and officers all year long, but it's nice to just have us all come together here at our academy for one formal event.
Flags at the Kentucky State Police Training Academy were lowered to half-staff Friday in honor of the 29 KSP troopers, 2 officers, and 6 highway patrolmen who have died in the line of duty.
I've said it many times, I don't care if the color is brown, green, gray, or blue. It's a fraternity, it's a family.
The salute not only to the fallen, but also recognizing the sacrifices of those left behind.
We want you to know that we will never forget your sacrifice and the one that your loved one made, and that you will always be KSP family to us.
It meant a lot to Rebecca Tribby, whose husband, KSP Trooper Anson Blake Tribby, was killed in the line of duty in 2013.
He gave his life helping someone in need in his job that he loves, and while we're obviously very sad and miss him every day, we couldn't be more proud of him. I couldn't be more honored to be his widow, and we just want to be able to continue his legacy of all the good he brought to the state.
Randy Chrisman came in memory of Trooper Eric Chrisman, who died in a crash while responding to a call fresh out of the academy in 2015.
He was really smart, very gifted kid, went to Western on a full presidential scholarship. He could have done anything he wanted to do, but he wanted to be a police officer.
Patrolman Robert L. Rowland, Trooper Mac E. Brady.
This yearly ceremony making sure these fallen heroes are never forgotten.
Seems like it would be easy for people to forget, but they remember every year, and we appreciate that so much. It does give us some peace when that happens. We still miss them every day.
He was a third-generation police officer, and he just loved everything about his job. And we said the only regret we have for him is we wish he could have been a police officer longer.
Reporting in Frankfort, Matthew Rand, WYMT Mountain News.
And we're keeping a close eye on those showers and storms moving into parts of western Kentucky. They're strong to severe at times. That's headed our way. We'll have a look at that full forecast coming up in just a few short minutes.
Plus, a big day at Stonecrest Golf Course in Prestonsburg, and a couple of high schoolers, or 3 high schoolers, won a special award in honor of a late WYMT news anchor.